Ooh, what's up, jobbers, and welcome to the latest edition of the Jobber Knocker podcast. As always, is Nestlemania. Alongside for the ride is a man that has zero fear, except for feet, JC.
Gross. Feet? Ugh, even just saying it. Get that shit out of my face. You put your feet near my face, I'm going to break your toes. How about that?
That's gross.
But then I have to touch them, so maybe I'll just fucking, I don't know, super kick you in the face.
Ugh.
But yeah, Nestlemania, there was a pretty big debut this week on Monday Night Raw, wasn't there?
I mean, when I saw it, they gave out obviously earlier, they were like, oh, here's his merchandise. I was like, this looks great. And then someone else pointed out something that I thought was hilarious. And it was that he already had more merchandise his first day than he ever did in AEW. Like they didn't give masks out, or they didn't, there was no opportunity to buy Lucha Bros merchandise or something. It was like astronomical, the amount of money he'll make on his first day alone.
Yeah, because it's one of those things, like, it's, to me, like, the luchador thing is so much like Spider-Man, and Spider-Man has really captured with the kids of being like, we can just sell every different type of Spider-Man, all the shit, because, like, a black Spider-Man's cool, a female Superman, Spider-Man's cool, like, it's just, like, and Penta, obviously, like, he has, like, the darker luchador look, like, it's just, there's just so many different looks, and we know the Rey Mysterio standard, they had the Sin Cara, we have the Dragon Lees, but it's like, Penta has always been one of the coolest, aesthetically pleasing luchadors there is, because he looks like a fucking badass and he knows how to do the fucking shit with his mouth to make his mask look even cooler. Yeah, he's a fucking badass, man. So
just the way he was walking to the ring, and yes, I watched the entrances, folks, because I wanted to experience that one. I mean, I love the Zero Miro at the beginning, Zero Miro, excuse me. And then just watching him kind of like, I wouldn't say crunk.
It's like a strut. It's like the Penta strut.
Yeah. I just love just the essence of him in general. And then he gets in there and he just had, and again, before we talk about Penta being amazing, and obviously this is a big deal, I just want to give a shout out to Chad Gable, because you need to have a good dance partner, especially in your debut.
Triple H even tweeted that about a different match, but it applies here too.
But I just think that having a certain dance partner matters. And Chad Gable was doing lucha things that, and I'm making a joke, obviously, because of, lucha things. But when you do lucha technically, this is things people don't understand. They work the right usually instead of the left side of the body. It's just the way they do it in Mexico. And they were doing things on the right-hand side when I was watching at the beginning. And I was like, well, they must have either worked on that, because that's not something you see every day, to be like, let's do the right side instead of the left side, because it's like a universal thing they teach you. And I was just like, that's pretty fucking cool. And they didn't miss a step. Obviously, it's me. I got to call out the shitty leg drop. But other than that, like, it was a pretty flawless debut. That leg drop was Becky Lynch-esque. But other than that, I mean, I'm just curious, JC.
Well, that's so many. Well, you know what you said. You said Chad Gable, always in the shine. We are in the shine. Penta debuts kicking off the shine. But to me, they nailed this in so many more ways than one. Obviously, the entrance was badass. We know Penta's a badass. They picked the perfect dance partner. But the one thing I didn't consider is they even fucking nailed the location. Where was Raw? It was in San Jose, California. A very strong Hispanic crowd. So it gave you the sense that immediately, like, there was no doubt the people in the crowd were going to know him. Obviously, he had a lot of his family there, and there were people on the internet making fools of themselves about his daughter. So shame on you fucking virgins. Grow up. But it's perfect. Like, and that's what separates WWE from everyone else, is like, they have so many people and they think about these things. Be like, and there's something different for the Vince era, where Vince would rather want to clown you in your whole town. Like, WWE gets it. It's like, no, these people are fucking, especially if you want to be like a babyface and a star, like, you want them to get the hero's welcome in their hometown, because it adds something. And the thing that really hit home here is they allowed Penta to go out there and have his emotions. They gave him that post-match promo and allowed him to just speak in Spanish. But if you had someone who had never seen Penta in your life and you saw him last night, in your mind, you're like, this guy's a big fucking deal. This is living up to whatever hype I heard from people. Like, and that's rare nowadays, especially because when you hear people telling you over and over again how great someone is and you haven't seen him yet, you're going in with a pretty negative attitude, being like, there's no way. But like, if that was the first time you saw Penta last night, from start to finish, they made him look like a superstar. And it was just, mwah. I love the way it played out. I'm excited. I think he's awesome. The guy deserves to be here, and I'm glad he's here. And I think there's a lot of things they can do with him in WWE.
I thought the one thing that I mean, I tweeted this out and I got a great response from a lot of great people. So I just wanted to make sure that we had this discussion point here. But we always make the argument about some people not having English as their first language and there's a language barrier. We always use that as an argument for where the ceiling is with people. But last night really proved to me that there is no glass ceiling in terms of language barrier, because I feel like that dude connected. Yes, they lined up San Jose with it.
Yeah, if this was in Alabama, you ain't getting that. It's
No,
not
I
gonna,
know,
you
but
know
I'm
what I
just saying,
mean?
but if the chips fall a certain way, like they're setting him up as a success, like you said, versus trying to give him the old pie face in his hometown. There's a difference here because they're building equity as they go along. So
Yes.
I think that's a really important factor here, because there's a certain number of things you can do to make this a success or a failure very quickly. And so for me, I was just thinking to myself, it doesn't matter that he spoke Spanish. That's important, but you could see the passion resonate from him. I didn't need to know. Yes, I saw the translation later, but I think that's important going forward, is like the passion, because it just feels passionate. And he could speak English. I mean, it was pretty clear. I just think that he did a good job showing the passion, and I think that's what wrestling fans alike will across the board agree with. No matter what we talk about, it's the passion, and that's what brings us together.
Well, we also got to remember, hey, like, and you're 100% right. Like, this is why first impressions are so important, because now people in other crowds and other places saw this type of reaction to him. So they're going to be trained that they're going to do the same type of thing. Like, it's good. It's training people's brains. But the second thing, the reason why I'll push back a little bit is because this isn't a one size fits all here in terms of glove. What have we talked about last week and this ago about Penta? This motherfucker is so cool and he looks cool. So those guys can get away with a lot more leash in terms of like that kind of stuff with like the language barriers and stuff, but it's not going to work for everyone. But with Penta, yeah, and again, you said it perfectly. Like, he did some of it in English, but then he transitioned to Spanish flawlessly, and the crowd really fed on it because it was a big Hispanic crowd. And it's just like this was a home run, grand slam, like whatever you want to call it, perfect game. Like, they fucking nailed it. And I think they've now trained the WWE audience that like this guy's fucking cool and he can do it in the ring, he can do it out of the ring. It's one of those things. But yeah, no, I think this is what's really cool to see, because we worry about this all the time with some of these guys, and it's usually a lot of the time the NXT call-ups because not many people skip NXT, but it's always like, we know these people are good, but does it translate to this WWE audience, which is a much bigger audience and a much different type of fan, because you have a little bit of everything. Because obviously you go to like a very small crowd, like they know who he is, they're all wrestling fans, but you get for these other crowds, it's like a lot of people haven't seen him before. So for WWE to nail it in every aspect, I think was so important here. And I love it because this, like, Penta has so much he can do, and he's so fucking cool. And I think he's going to have a great run in WWE, and I am excited. This is the first step. And you know what, Nestlemania makes me even more excited for when his brother gets here eventually too.
So our boy, the Backcracker, said Penta's debut was awesome. I agree. Yeah. I think everybody agrees here. The thing that I'm really excited about with Penta is, like, there isn't a glass ceiling with him. I think he could have a real fun time on his own, but when his brother gets there, I think that's another layer where you're like, the Lucha Bros are going to, like, you think about okay, just having the Usos versus the Lucha Bros.
Usos, New Day, Motor City Machine Guns, like, it just go on down the line. Street Profits. Oh, the Street Profits. Oh, man.
It's going to there's a lot of cooking to be done here. Clint says, "What up, guys? WWE 2K25 is awesome." 25. Okay, I didn't know.
Is it already out?
Is it out? Or did they tell us more, Clint? Because we don't know.
Well, I know they've made some changes for this year game. I was reading about the other day. So
okay, I didn't know if it was out yet. I assumed that maybe they have like a trailer or something. I don't know.
They feel like they usually do it end of the year, so maybe it is. Yeah,
maybe, I don't know. But there's a lot going on that we're excited about here. Is there something else you want to talk about? Are we done with Penta? Do you want to move on?
Oh yeah, we can move on, because I thought for me there were four. I mean, Raw was really good overall. I thought Raw was almost a perfect show. I can hit on this here too with the Netflix thing. Like, we saw the perks of streaming this week, because again, like Triple H said, he's like, we don't have a runtime. This show was about 2.5 hours. It didn't feel like it dragged, and it just made me think, like, this is the beauty of streaming, because they didn't have to jam things into 2 hours. They didn't have to force things into 3 hours this week. And we can talk about SmackDown later, how that went, but it was just like, this is the beauty of streaming, is like, you're not forced into a corner. So you want to go 210 this week? Fine. You want to go 250 this week? Fine. But it's just like, it gives me hope that Raw is going to continue, like we saw the growth last year, but get even better this year, because it can kind of be what it needs to be every week, no less or no more. So as long as they nail it like they did this week, I think Raw is going to be one of the better shows we watch every week.
Your boy, the Backcracker, saying 2.5 hours chef kiss. I think that's a meaty response from a lot of people. I think that's
Yeah,
the
that's what it needed
wheelhouse.
this week. It was
Yeah,
perfect.
it's the wheelhouse. I will say there's something about, and maybe it's just because Netflix feels new, right? And I think we're all excited about it, so that helps. But there's something about, like, for me, when I'm not glossing over all these things. We can talk about it. We can drill down into it after. But like, to me, the main event felt like a pay-per-view
That
match.
main event was awesome.
You know what I mean? It had a lot of elements that felt like gaga, and like that's not something you normally would see. Like, it felt like it was a bigger deal. And then so there were other things that I thought happened too. But I mean, it felt like there were portions of Raw that felt bigger than a televised event, which I think is really important to keep that momentum going, because I don't want to talk too much about SmackDown because I feel like there were a couple things in SmackDown that were great, but mostly I think it suffers from the longevity. But we'll talk about that more, I'm sure.
Yeah, no, but I think I want to talk about the main event here because that's one of my like 4 pillars of Raw this week. Is that this was obviously a feud that's been going on forever. We have a little bit of fatigue with it, but you know what? They said, you know what? I'm just gonna have a main event Raw. We're gonna let these guys do whatever they want. Like that fucking the broken arrow off the balcony through a table. Oh, what a spot! That thing was badass. Both those guys. Like, I don't know if you saw some of the fan angles, Nestle, they had of like the dude right in front. Like, move looks so badass. They did the whole stretcher spot with Finn, and you had Damian beating everyone up. And then, of course, you get towards the end of the match, and you get double table spots, and you get the run-ins, like you said, with all the gaga. But I thought this was awesome. This was a great way to end the show. And I bring this up like quite often, especially with like weekly TV shows, because SmackDown, as comparison, we got the standard like, oh yeah, main event guys, random tag match, whatever. But it's just like, I'm always a big fan of like, what is the hot story of the week that deserves a TV main event? And this week, Finn Priest in a street fight, that sounds like a main event to me. And it's just one of those things, is how you stop fatigue. Because next week, you can have a completely different feud main event. So it's just like, I kind of like that. You don't need to force the main event like type players into the main event every week. These guys are main event type players, but their feud is one that just like it paid off. And who knows? These guys might fight forever. They might not be done, but this sure felt like, at least for now, a nice little bow finally on top here where Priest can kind of move on maybe a little bit and Finn can clean up his messes. But this match was great. I thought it had it all.
I just chuckled because I thought to myself, this has to be a feud ender in my head. And I'm like, well, probably not, but it felt like a feud ender. And then the other thing too was just watching the gurney push from the entrance all the way. And then it perfectly landed for Finn to roll in back into the ring. I was like, you ask anybody else to do that, I don't think they could replicate that. But for some reason, it looked smooth as fuck. And I was like, when I saw that, I was just like, whoo, like
when you roll with Finn, you win.
Yeah, I just the whole match was great. I just thought it was well done overall. And again, they kept building and building and building. It was all about Finn. That whole thing was all about Finn. So it was just funny to me that it was perfect. It was really, really well done. And a lot of things on Raw really cooked.
Yeah,
so.
Pillar number 3. Speaking of cook, we got to talk about the woman here. The other mid-card title, we finally have a champ. Lyra wins, but Nestlemania, I just want to talk about this match in general, because this was actually the one Triple H referred to when he said, sometimes, you need a great dance partner. He did a thing with Dakota, and a lot of people were upset, but I'm like, if you're upset by that post, then you really don't understand what wrestling is, because Triple H is kind of like breaking that fourth wall, being like, look, what Dakota did, like, that is championship material. Yeah, she doesn't walk out with the championship, but this run, she proved herself that she can do it. And now you still have that thirst now for the fans, so you can get even more buzz behind her for however long it takes her to get to wherever she is. Lyra's ready now. That's the bottom line. We talked about it all last year and whatever, but it's just she was ready now. So it was the right call. She's the champ. But this match, Nestlemania, this is the beauty of the woman now having a mid-card, because we talk about all the time they don't get really time on TV to wrestle, but now you have a 3-hour show, you have a Netflix show with more time. This can really become the women's wrestling title, where you get a lot of the big name stars who don't wrestle as much on TV having the main titles, but you can get these other women who are just workhorses and studs, or up and comers, or just older rivals, can go out there and just fucking wrestle. And this was a beautiful match.
I mean, that's that suplex to the outside on the
right off the rip. They didn't waste that time.
And I just want to let everybody know that, like, you listen to any interview from a wrestler, and I'll tell you this from personal experience, being suplexed on the ground, even on a mat, is far worse than getting suplexed in the ring.
Yeah, no,
and especially getting off the apron into it. It is like she was nuts for trying it, and they were both nuts for taking it. And all I just thinking to myself was, wow. And then, like, how do you do that? And then they just kept going and going and going. And I was really excited for both of them, because it was just, they did such a great job. And I think they got a lot of time, which is what I was nervous about, is like, I just don't want them to get the championship and then not have time. I think that's really important going forward. And like you said, it's exciting to see people get chances. And I think everybody in that tournament deserves, more television time. It's just,
They have the horses for it. And then
Yeah,
you have
yeah.
even more that are going to be coming up in this year. We talk about NXT every week, how loaded that women's division is. So it's like they finally have, because I feel like forever people talked about these type of things and are like, they really don't have the horses. They have the horses now, and there's more coming out of the stables of NXT. So it's exciting. Fourth pillar for this week, Nestlemania. It's a Monday night rerun, but it don't matter because every time we see it, it's a banger after banger. Ludwig and Sheamus. Is there anything else more to say here? Just a good match every time.
There's something about the way Sheamus just does his business that it cracks me up every time I see him. And I get a smile on my face every time I see him. And it was a good match. And then of course, not to display or downplay the match itself, but then of course, this is the part that I thought was a little weird with the Braun Breaker stuff. We can talk about it here. We can wait, but it's a little odd to me that Braun Breaker was on, like, in my opinion, on such a roll in terms of like on my television, doing the thing, being fucking like front and center and kind of like main eventing everything. I'll forgive last week not being on the show. This week, I feel like I get it, but at some point, the Netflix people need to know, like, when I mean the casuals need to know about Braun Breaker. We know about Braun Breaker, but we need to know why Braun Breaker's Braun Breaker. I just think they haven't done a good job yet. And I know that's probably not fair to grade it
In
that
2
way.
weeks, what I will say with that is like he literally, and the problem is he's facing Sheamus, who's already beaten. He's beaten Ludwig. It feels like he's beaten everyone on Raw pretty much in this division. Even like the dude challenging for the big one, like, you know what I mean? So it's just like he's one of the main matches Saturday night main event in a week and a half or whatever it is. I think it's a week from Saturday. So he's gonna be fine. But yeah, no, I would have, like, maybe you have an in-ring thing with him this week, or you have him get physical with Sheamus more than just whatever. But yeah, no, it's definitely was a little thing. But like we talked about last week. Last week it was about just like the upper echelon of wrestling, and you saw that none of that really was here this week. It was more the workhorse stuff. The reason why a lot of us watch these shows every week is like a lot of the stuff all around it, and I thought that stuff shined this week and why the show was so good. And that's why I had these 4 pillar type things, because we had a debut, we had an awesome women's match that had this, we had our old reliable Banner here, and then of course we had a badass main event with 2 guys who really have carried the bell during the quote unquote off season for WWE. So to me, that's why a big reason why I loved Raw. And yeah, you still had the main stars kicking off the show, like Punk declaring for the Rumble. I kind of want to talk about this segment here because I thought it was interesting with these 3 guys, because there's just so much connective tissue with these guys. Because obviously Punk's reaction when Seth comes out, and then Punk's reaction even more so when Drew comes out. I was dying because it's like, it's so true. Like, you just can't shake these guys. And all 3 of these guys are all in each other's hair in business nonstop. I thought this was a fun little segment. It obviously was just to get them all in the Rumble, but it felt kind of cool. And as we're looking at this Rumble stack up with these 3 guys, and you have John Cena and you have Roman Reigns, it's like, this could be one of the most star-studded Rumbles ever in WrestleMania.
You know what's funny? I'm probably putting way too much emphasis on this, but the last time I was, just give me a minute, would you? I'm trying to stay positive. We're in the shine, for Christ's sake. I'm looking at it from a perspective of the last time I was this excited, and I'm still pissed I'm missing it live, is the Rumble where Mac won. Like that felt like a big Rumble when we were thinking about it. And then we're like, how is Brock going to figure into this thing? And that was like the crucial story of the whole Royal Rumble, just throwing motherfuckers out and dancing. And then, ooh, big boy. And like, just, that whole thing was a whole moment for everybody. And so I feel like this Royal Rumble has the potential to create so many micro moments here that we're just going to be talking about it for a very long time. Because I thought Drew McIntyre, like when he came on, I'm like, okay, he's going to do the CM Punk thing. But I love that he turned his attention to Seth Rollins, being like, he got the Ula Fala back. You lost your focus. You went after him, and you should have been with the rest of us. And like, I just love that whole little expose on it, because it made me think. I was going to use this as my hope, but we have other things we can talk about here, which was I was kind of thinking like there is a world that McIntyre could find the championship before Roman Reigns, and Roman Reigns versus McIntyre could happen at Mania. I doubt it, but McIntyre's on such a tear that I love that his quest is to get to the championship before Reigns. Even if it doesn't happen at Mania, there's some type of feeling to me like, if it is Reigns and Punk, right? He'd rather Punk get the championship than Roman Reigns then, right? Like, what a weird flip-flop of juxtaposition here, that Punk and McIntyre were like, as long as we're here, neither of us are going to win the championship. But what if it's Roman Reigns and CM Punk? He's got to get involved somehow. He's probably going to pick the lesser of two evils. I just think it's interesting that you can go that way in a story. They may never call to it, but it's interesting to have that on the table.
What if somehow we get a match where it's Roman Reigns, Drew McIntyre, CM Punk, and Seth Rollins in a fatal 4-way? Like it's just like it's all connected.
Right.
Literally. All four of those guys are so fucking connected. And you could even do it where it's like if you have like say Cena wins the Rumble, like maybe like they're starting a few with them and then maybe one of these guys wins Chamber, or maybe one wins the Rumble, one wins Chamber, and they both go for this. You know what I mean? It also is neither of these four guys have the championship, but theoretically one could get it before then. I don't know who you'd want it though. I don't know if you can sell this as a non-title, but it's just like, wouldn't that be wild? I'm assuming all four of these guys will probably be in singles matches, but it was just something that would just be like, it would be a wild fucking thing because they literally are all connected. So any of the combinations between those four, I think you could see at WrestleMania.
Absolutely. And of course, Joe with saying the last time I was excited, this excited, I ended up with twins. So thanks, Joe. Appreciate that.
He might not be wrong.
I don't think I'm going to be that excited because I'm going to miss it this year. So it's, well, everybody else is enjoying it. I hope you all don't. I'm going to have to unlock. I'm going to have to lock.
No, you got to do what I do and just turn off everything.
Just
like,
go
don't
dark.
go on Twitter. Just go completely dark.
Yeah.
If people text you, don't even check the text till after you watch. Believe me, it's hard because like usually during work I'm fine with it, but every now and then it's like I want to go dark and it's like I see texts come in, I just don't read them and I just don't go on Twitter. You just have to. It takes discipline, Nestlemania, but I believe you can do it.
I hope I have discipline. Our boy Marcus is here. What's up, Marcus?
What's up, dude?
Always check out Marcus. He's a good guy, very good guy. So he's doing great stuff. So. Anything else in this?
Do you have anything else on Raw, or can I go to SmackDown?
Well, you can go to SmackDown, I guess.
All right. So SmackDown, for the most part, sucked. Didn't love the 3 hours. We'll get to that in a minute. But there was one theme that I loved, and this was kind of my hope for the 3 hours. We've kind of been talking about it for months now, is that tag team wrestling in WWE would kind of get revitalized and reborn a little bit. That's why I thought bringing in the machine guns and kind of like setting it. It was been kind of trending this way for a while. And we saw the fruits of those labors on SmackDown. And to me, that was the only real positive theme we got from SmackDown. I mean, first off, Motor City Machine Guns and A-Town Down Under, banger. I love this combo. 4 absolute studs. It was my favorite part of SmackDown. But even the other match there with, I guess I missed when their name just became the Garzas or whatever. Like I just completely missed that.
Yeah.
Los Garzas, because I started saying it the last 2 weeks and I just was kind of caught off guard, but I mean, we know they're obviously great in the ring, and that was a fucking banger as well. So to me, that was my biggest positive SmackDown, because much like the women's match on Raw, and we've seen with like Chelsea Green's matches too, is that these mid cards and these tag teams are getting time to just wrestle. And I think that's how you get a lot of this stuff over, because like tag team wrestling really can it's so different than just your standard one. And we see most of the tag team wrestling we've seen in WWE is just random hodgepodge main events or whatever, and they're useless. But when you get real tag teams wrestling, it's just completely different, and it was on display, and I loved it.
Yeah. No, look, I was so excited for Pretty Deadly. I love that there's a backstage segment.
Yes, boy.
I was like, I almost gave him my comeback, but I was just like, you know what? There's so much going on in WWE. We can talk about other things, but when I saw them get an entrance, when I saw them get a backstage segment, I love that they're like the henchmen for DIY. I think that's kind of funny. And then Apollo Crews just does his drive-by, which whatever, that is what it is. But it's so funny to me because they couldn't get the opportunity to be on television. And then bam, like there they are. And I'm like, they don't need to win. Like the only way I can see Pretty Deadly winning right now is if there's like a triple threat, a fatal 4-way or something, and they accidentally win because something happens, because something else transpires. Like that would be my way to book it. But man, like I'm so glad they're maximizing their minutes, because I love them, and I know that that's a detriment to their career. So I'm trying to taper my own expectations.
I think that they'll get a run at some point, because we've
Right.
always seen it in WWE. Like, I mean, my boy Heath Slater was the biggest example. Like, you put in the dues, it's like the fans eventually are going to like give you gratitude for it, and like the people in charge take notice. Like, they're not stupid. They see, and if like you do good work for a long period of time, you will get rewarded. Look at Chelsea Green. Literally just happened. Like, you could say, it could have had the same things about her, where it's just like she's maximizing her minutes. It was her second opportunity. She'd already been let go, and this is her second time. Or third time, or even as many times you want to say coming back, but it's just so their time will come. Probably not anytime soon, but it's nice to, like you said, like we're getting to see them on TV, and we're getting to see these other teams, and we should continue to build positive momentum with the tag teams.
All right. Anything else? Where'd you like to get heaty?
That's all I got.
Get him off my TV. Get him off my TV. Get him off my TV. We already talked about Braun Breaker. That pissed me off an awful lot. I think SmackDown in 3 hours is a pill. I'll be honest. I think the long, like, I love that there's time. I think that's wonderful for the things that you mentioned, the women's division and the tag team division. That's
they didn't
great.
do good with everything else, though.
Right. And I think that's the issue.
Like, it's one of those, like, it felt like the bad versions of the 3 hour Raws, where it's just like it didn't do enough. Like, and like the stuff that they build towards is just like, okay, well, what are we doing? We're just running in circles with like Cody and Jimmy constantly having to run in, just an LA Knight, then now being thrown into this mix. It's just like, well, we're gonna be stuck in fucking tag team hell with the fucking main stars. It's just because it's like, yeah, like this week, I guess like their idea was making Jacob and Tama look like badasses, but like we already know they are. But it's just like it wasn't interesting enough, and it was obviously all for most of the night, and a lot of the other stuff they had, the non-tag team stuff, it wasn't good this week.
I think it's hard because it's weird to me that you can put out a product like Raw on Netflix, and I'm sure their firepower is directed to being like that's where all our resources and time and effort go into because it's a big deal right now. But I don't understand how you can put out a product like SmackDown that, for the most part, was doing better than Raw up until recently, at least in my opinion. And it's the Cody show, which there should be no excuse. And I appreciated the beginning of SmackDown with Heyman saying, I'm going to say to your face that Roman Reigns intends to win the Royal Rumble and come after you and blah, blah, blah. They did a good job, making the championships in the Royal Rumble feel special. But then, like you said, it kind of threw up on itself in terms of just not having the ability to keep our attention. And I think if you're going to make it to 3 hours, there's got to be something that keeps us anticipating something. I didn't anticipate and care for this main event with Cody, Jay, and the other bloodline. Like Jimmy, I just didn't care. I thought it was like, it just
because we're doing the same shit we've been doing. Like, we're running in circles with these guys. And it's just like, and think about what we just talked about with Raw and Nestlemania. We didn't talk about their fucking world champion at all. Right. And it's just like so it's just like, it's not, and with like Cody, yeah, it's easy. You just send him out there and he's over and the crowd will be happy. But it's like, you like with Raw, they put in the detail into everything else. And that's what makes a good show. Like, it's one of those things, like and even when SmackDown was good, it was good because like the Roman stuff was good, but everything else wasn't good. We've been shitting on the SmackDown Women's division for like 2 years. Like, this was the first week we probably were positive about the SmackDown Tags division. Like, then the mid-card title for the most part, when it wasn't Logan Paul, and he wasn't even there half the time, but when he was, that was the only time it was interesting. Because think about all the shit you've been saying about LA Knight. They haven't done a good job with everything else. It's like, now you have the extra hour. Instead of like jamming like 3 weeks of storylines for your main event stars and like have them just not be interesting storyline. I mean, you have guys like Giovanni Vinci who could be on TV just for one, but it's just like, that's more of what you need to do. And that was the goal. Obviously the women's mid-card title with Chelsea Green, like that's a positive, like we mentioned the tag team, but it's just like, you have tons of other stuff you can take advantage with that too. And if you feel like you need to beef up the roster, well, you're bringing the Wyatt 6 over. So that's a good step. Like, it seemed like, maybe some other, we've already had Braun Strowman over there, like, and it's just, we have that little mellow storyline going. Andrade's there. Like, you have plenty of stars. You can do it. And if you need to supplement a little more from NXT, then fucking do it. Because it's like, the answer isn't to give me an hour and 10 minutes of Cody content. Because it's just like, yes, we love Cody, but it's just, you don't want to dilute your main stars, especially when a lot of the times, like, the whole point of having your champions is they really only fight at the big events. And then they do like supplemental stuff on the TV shows, because you really, like, the point for them being on TV is to build to their big match that you're trying to sell. The TV show is to just make a good show while promoting this, but having good stuff along the way and giving people a reason to go with, like, a banner match between, like, look at Monday Night Raw. The main event was Finn Balor, Damian Priest. It was not there wasn't an A-list storyline. It was a very strong B-list storyline, but you can have it main event because you've done the work. SmackDown needs to do the same work. They didn't this week, and until they do, the 3 hours is going to be a very tough watch.
I'm going to say this. I feel like the Cody and KO stuff needs to stop.
It will at the Royal Rumble.
No, I know, but my thought is just like, there's too much going on. Like, there's
Cody should have been off TV longer, but I know they didn't want to do that because they don't want him not a show.
I understand that, but I feel like at some point here, it's not I understand that KO cost him the match on Friday. That's fine. I understand that he did a run-in on Raw on Netflix the first night and all that stuff. I get all that stuff. I understand what they're trying to do with it, but I'm not interested in it. Like, I know it's probably not for me, and I know we had like 4 to 5 weeks after they announced the Royal Rumble ladder match. I just feel like I've forgotten it's a ladder match until I just said it. You know what I mean? Like there's no like he doesn't show up at the Winged Eagle or anything. Like I feel like for something that on Saturday night's main event had a big splash and then Netflix on Raw kinda but I feel like Cody's doing everything he can, but like you said,
They're running in circles.
diluting. And the hardest part for me is at some point, Cody's still a meteoric rise. Like he's just fucking going.
It's not happening anytime soon.
No, I know,
but if people have that dream, it's going to take a lot more. Like,
no, I know.
Maybe Cena could do it at WrestleMania because it's his last run. But even then, that's going to be a mix. So
I don't know. There's something about it that makes me feel like I'm not saying KO is a can because I love KO. That would be blasphemy.
You're saying KO is a can. He's been a can for years.
But what I'm saying is he's not a believable winner when it comes to the big fight. That's all I'm saying. So now I'm at a point where I feel like unless they go for the shock value of KO winning at the Rumble, which I highly, highly doubt, I don't know. I'm looking at it like, let's move on. Because I feel like KO's had like more chances than anybody to win the championship. He's like a Drew level of the amount of title shots he's had.
He lost to Roman like 8 times.
Right. And I just feel like, all right, let's cool that for a little bit. Let's cool that, please. And like January to Mania is going to be crucial for Cody Rhodes to make something of himself, because once we know who he's facing, we know nothing else matters for him. And we're at a very crucial point here where he needs to really be in his best form, because we're going to know pretty quickly the Mania winner is going to be probably Cody no matter what. I would say Cody probably no matter what. I'd be shocked.
It seems like it doesn't matter who he faced, whether it's Cena, whether it's Punk, whether it's a Roman trilogy or whatever. It does feel like it's a Cody retain, but
I feel like they're not doing the best they can. He's doing the best he can.
No,
they're not doing the best.
They're complacent with him because they can be. They can worry about everything else because they know they don't have to worry about Cody. We see this all the time, and this is why babyface champions are so difficult, because you look at it, it's like you send him out there and he's fine. He's the biggest fucking babyface they got, the biggest everything they got. So they don't need to fucking try with him. They're like, yeah, that's fine. We can have him fight you, fucking Nestle, and they would fucking sell out because people want to go, whoa, and fucking chant Cody every time he's there. Like, we saw the same shit we saw with Cena. It's just like they just get complacent because they can be. And so you don't always get like the most effort there. Mm-hmm. So it's frustrating, especially this gap is really showing it because the Rumble's pushed back this year. They didn't really have anything else. And like you said, this KO story started a while ago. I'm assuming Randy isn't coming back to the Rumble at this point, so you don't even get that to spice up this storyline. So yeah, no, it's going to be a drag. And unfortunately, now that SmackDown's 3 hours, they're going to fucking overexpose him because they just feel like they have to fill their show. And it's going to be shit like this, which is just, we know is meaningless. Like, it just is pointless. And it's the same shit we've been literally doing all year. He fucking faced Solo already and already faced all these dudes. Like, it's the same. We're just running in circles till we get there. And it's not good TV, but for some reason they feel like they still have to do it.
Is there something else that you thought would be heaty this week?
What do you think about the other world title, Jey Uso challenging Gunther at Saturday Night Main Event?
So I really thought Jey Uso did an incredible job here in terms of selling, like, I just want it. I need it. Yeah, I know I got some shortcomings. I love that Gunther can just walk out and say the shittiest thing and be like, you're a really good tag team wrestler. I'm like, no, that's so true. It's so true.
We're all thinking it.
And it's just like, but then after that, really, in my opinion, this is the reason why Jey Uso, connects. He's obviously the merchandise and the entrance, the whole deal, the bell rings. It's all right. It's all right. But
he's cool. It's like Penta. He's just fucking cool.
He is cool. That there's an authentic coolness factor with him. You can't
natural.
It's just it's cool. You want to be part of it. He's a big fucking star. But I just don't believe, again, that Gunther is going to be in any peril. So I'm just feeling like, really?
That's why this is on Saturday Night Main Event and not the Royal Rumble to me. So it seems like Gunther probably isn't going to be booked at the Rumble. Because when you have the 2 Rumbles, you can really only have like 2 other matches.
Right.
So if we're doing Cody KO, it'll be like, it'll probably one of the women's titles. I don't know if it's been decided yet, but because Rhea doesn't have a contender yet, does she?
No.
No, she doesn't. And obviously, we know this Bailey's the number one contender. She's getting a shot actually this week at Tiffy. But whether it's a Nia Jax rematch or whatever, it's that's where it'll probably a Cody match, women's match, and the 2 Rumbles. So it's like you put this as the main event of Saturday night main event. You can go fucking forever with Jey Uso's entrance. You can tease us and whatever, and then Gunther can just walk out as champ and we can move on. Is what it seems like. But it just like it's one of those things like we've seen that Jey lose to Gunther. I feel like so many times. Then I'm just like, eh.
Yeah, I think now that you mention it, that it's happening the week before Rumble, so that means he's definitely not getting a spot.
Yeah.
And I think they like the idea of
they can have him sit up with Ludwig and have him just watch the Rumble.
Exactly. Him and Cody. Well, I don't know if Cody will do it.
They'll be in different things, but maybe you put Tiffy in like their booth or something. Or
I don't know. I just feel like there's something about. I like the idea that the champions are watching, and then like Cody pointed, I want you, motherfucker, like shit like that. Like I love that aspect of it, but I think not. You can make an argument either way, but I think not having your champions on big pay-per-views like the Royal Rumble specifically don't do them any favors.
But you have 4 big championships.
Sure.
So it's hard because you can't have 4 matches in 2 Rumbles.
No, I understand that.
Because then everyone would bitch out on. So it's like, my guess is they cherry pick 1 men's match, 1 women's match, and maybe there's a 5th match, whether it's a mid-card title, tag team, something. That's
the tag team's a great decision because I feel like
because all those guys ain't going to be in the Rumbles. Nowadays, like there's so many stars, like the tag team wrestlers, you don't need them in the Rumble.
So, yeah, I think there's going to be a lot of surprises too.
Might be a good spot for the Machine Guns.
Yeah, I think that's a good idea.
Get them some good exposure on an event that everyone will watch. People will see this match, they'll think it's a piss break, but then they'll just like be glued to it because they'll be doing crazy shit. So maybe that's where you do DIY Machine Guns just to just showcase the division.
And my other thing is are they gonna put the Intercontinental or US title people in the Royal Rumble this year? Like I'll be curious to see if they don't, because I feel like LA Knight has to be like in that. I mean, he doesn't
have the championship anymore.
Right. But I mean, Nakamura, who cares? Right. And then it's just like Braun Breaker. If you
Braun's going to be in the Royal Rumble.
Right. I mean, so it's like, you just got to sit there and you think like Chelsea Green should be.
All the women will get in. Like, and Lyra will 100% be in. Like, that does not, to me, there's no worry about the women being left out because a lot of the women in tag teams will be in too, just because there's just less women. But yeah, no, it's the men's. Yeah. Who knows about Nakamura, but yeah, LA Knight will definitely be in the Rumble. Those guys, I'm sure Solo is going to declare for the Rumble. It just, to me, there's like, they've just done such a good job, like building this stable of people who feel important that the Rumbles, it's like, and that's why I think the last couple of years people have complained about lack of surprises. It's like, okay, well, do you not want Roman Reigns then? You'd rather have fucking Mankind come in for 3 seconds and get fucking geriatrically dumped out? Or do you want fucking one of these main rosters? Do you want LA Knight left out of the Rumble? People would bitch about that. So that's something to remember here as we continue to get there. It's like you'll get a couple surprises, but I think the trend's going to continue that a lot of the surprises will be in the Women's Rumble because they just have more leeway there in terms of superstars.
So our boy, the Backcracker says, do you think Becky and Charlotte are going to return at the Royal Rumble here? I mean, I would think at least Charlotte, personally.
I think, I honestly, I think Becky's a shoo-in.
But then that means she has to win.
No. Especially if we think Charlotte's going to win. Hey, no, Becky can return and lose because you have create a feud. It's so easy. And also Becky, like same thing with Charlotte. Like neither of these women need to win a Rumble to be in a Mania match either. So it's just one of those. But it does. I do feel like both of them are back. It seems like the right time. The Charlotte rumors have obviously already begun. We know she's training, but the Becky kind of stuff, like she's all over like the Raw stuff. So it sure seems that it is happening. It's not if, it's when, and it's when. The when is soon. So I
just feel bad for the people that have been holding it down, and then these two walk in, and then. But I get it. I get it.
Every year, man.
No, I
know. If they dragged out Liv and Rhea to WrestleMania, you know how much you bitch.
I know.
As much as we love Liv, it had to end because Rhea's facing someone else at WrestleMania.
Well, it's going to be Rhea, Becky, and then it'll probably be Charlotte and Tiffy. There you go.
There's a good chance those are the matches.
Yeah,
good chance.
Yeah. So, I don't know.
I could see Rhea and Nia too.
Yeah, I just thought Nia's little line, by the way, you little shit, made me like just giggle like a little kid.
Her outfit was fucking the leopard print. Like, holy shit. A lot of prints.
I do like leopard print. That's one of my weaknesses. That and the color purple. But that's beside the fact. Anything else that you thought was kind of gross or bad or anything else you want to put on here?
I got nothing, but I'm sure you got stuff.
No, you know what? I really don't. I just I think the only thing I wanted to say, this isn't heat. It's just a laughable comment. is you're a jobber when you lose to the Blue Thunder Bomb. That's all I'm going to say. I'm glad it happened. I just feel like the Blue Thunder Bomb's usually a setup move, which
But
makes me
we've
think
always
less
said
things.
it should be his finisher, so
I
maybe they finally
agree.
listened.
But it's not, because he can't do it to everybody. He does the
Wow.
haluva kick to everybody. So
There you go.
look, he comes out of nowhere. He doesn't do anything. He just lurks for the whole episode, and then he just bursts out. Nestle Big Nia guy is on brand.
It is on brand. You take a lot of heat for your Nia love. You always have.
Listen, I'm just saying, everybody needs love. That's all I got to say about that. That's all. That's all. She's not like most girls. That's all.
Yeah. Should we talk about Corey Graves here before we move on?
Sure. What the hell? It's purgatory. He's in purgatory. It fits.
Forgotten man. Wade and Wade's on SmackDown. We got Pat. We got two-man boosts seem to be, which, look, and I'll say this. I feel like most people prefer the two-man boosts. That's what they're literally giving us. We saw Graves, I think, was on NXT last week in a three-man booth with King Booker and Vic. So obviously we saw his message come out after Raw where he's not thrilled about it. But to me, Nestlemania, you ever heard the song work, 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 da-na-na-na, work, 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 work. This is a fucking work, 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 work. If it isn't a work, I'll fucking come in this program and apologize. But if this is the most obvious work in the history of works, and obviously we're going head to head with NXT, so I could be run instantly with this, but I'm sure they're going to do like a gimmick where he's not allowed in the building and he had to leave and he's going to throw another tirade. This feels like Corey Graves versus Pat McAfee at WrestleMania, does it not?
I would think this makes the most sense that you could ever have at this point, because Corey may not wrestle ever again. You might as well give him a moment here. And like you said, the only moment that mattered would be against Pat McAfee, because it's connective tissue being pushed aside, the whole thing. Because let's be honest, Pat's probably going to get not let go. He's going to have to go back to College Game Day again, coming in August and September. So then Corey, I'm good enough for the regular season. So I feel
they'll
like
stick him on a three-man booth, whether it's on Netflix or whether it's on SmackDown, like eventually. But it feels like this, if he really is making his in-ring return, like this is how you do it. You don't want him to feud with a random wrestler. Like, who's he going to feud with? He's not feuding with Roman Reigns. He's not feuding with CM Punk. He's not feuding with Seth Rollins. So you're sticking with a mid-carder. You know what actually gets it more attention? If he feuds with fucking Pat McAfee. And Corey Graves is a fucking heel. So yeah, he should look like a fucking heel against one of the most popular people. Pretty simple.
I think it's hard because everything he says, I believe, and everything.
Oh, yeah.
Like I've been passed over.
It's a good work.
It's fantastic. I think it's wonderful. So I don't know. The thing that I've said about this all along is he's so good at commentary.
Yeah.
And then even Michael Cole has said the words heir apparent, which makes me think, okay, they want Corey Graves to replace Michael Cole someday because he's good at it. But
he was the play-by-play with Wade,
right?
Before I think Joe got there,
right?
So
I think they can handle it. He's good at everything. But here's the thing: I think he's better at commentary than he is at wrestling. So it's just like, even if he comes back and wrestles, it makes me feel like unless he's going to stick in NXT.
No, I think you give him the moment. You give him the moment that he never got to have because the injury cut him short. You give it to him at WrestleMania against Pat McAfee, a match that people will pay attention to. You have done it before with fucking way worse athletes than Corey Graves, when you fucking did Michael Cole and Jerry the King Lawler and all this bullshit. So it's just like, I'm fine with it because it's like the Mania's 2 nights. There's going to be fucking 14 matches or whatever. And it's like they can have one of them. It's fine. I don't think anyone in the locker room is going to be upset because the Graves thing is a cool story. And look at McAfee wrestles pretty at the big events every now and then anyways because he's fucking Pat McAfee. So I think if the stars are aligning for it to happen, then I think it should happen.
I just don't want him to continue to be a wrestler.
Yeah, he won't be.
I just want him to have the moment and move on. That's all.
He's not an idiot.
Okay. All right.
Hope.
Let's get hopeful, shall we?
Glorious. Your only hope. I'll go first, Nestlemania. You were bitching about Braun Breaker and lack thereof earlier, and I'm thinking, you know what? If he's going to hold on to this IC title, and they're already doing Sheamus here, then we got to find an opponent for Braun at Mania. And I'm like, you have to look too far because I think the answer fell in our laps, Nestlemania. Because you know what you do? You strike while the iron's hot, and you do it before his brother of a lucha mother comes. I think you do Braun and Penta at WrestleMania.
Wow.
Because I think their styles would give us all orgasms. It would be really cool. And it's just like, you just capture it. It's like Braun is a hot new thing. Like Penta's a hot new thing. It's just like, give them a fucking Mania match. Because so often, like at WrestleMania, you don't always get that. Because a lot of the time, the mid-card titles are either multi-mans or you maybe like force an old man or a young person. But it's just like, this is a fun one. And I think it's something that you do now. Well, because Penta, I think, will remain hot at least through this season. Because I think he'll just, like, the train has started. It's fire. He's still going to feel mostly fresh in a couple months. I think you just take advantage of it. And maybe you have Penta win, give him a short run till Ray Phoenix shows up or whatever. But it's just like I was watching Penta and Gabe, and I was like, you know what? I love this type of match, but I also want to see Penta be fucking physical with Braun Breaker. And like, because we've seen Braun, he's like most big guys. Like when you give him the right like guy who does more little guy type moves, which Penta's not a small guy by any means, but it's just like he does a lot of those types of moves. You can get something beautiful. And to me, I'm watching this, I'm like, both these guys are red hot. Let's fucking stick those two fucking hot coals together and have a fucking super hot fire match at WrestleMania. Give them a showcase. So that's my hope. Pretty simple. Braun versus Penta for the IC title at WrestleMania. Hashtag JC's hopes come true. Hashtag JC knows. That's what I got.
There's something that I also wanted to say about that, which was Penta is just, I think they can do that. I think the Braun thing is really fucking good. I'll be curious to see if Braun Breaker can take a destroyer. I don't know if he's capable of doing that. I think he probably is a genetic freak, but there's something that man probably can't do. But the one thing that I thought about when I was thinking about what Penta could be doing, it probably won't happen, but at least for the love of God, we need this to happen with or without a championship. We need, because I heard him say it in an interview. Someone asked him, we know you chop everybody and you make their chest into hamburger meat, but has there ever been somebody, Gunther, that has chopped you the hardest that you went, okay, that's enough? He said Penta.
Yeah.
And I was just like,
we'll get that too.
But like the idea of having Penta chop Gunther and Gunther kind of like not wanting it is something that I just want the visual of, because I know he hates it. Like, I don't like chops at all. I think chops are lazy, especially like nobody's fucking chopping in a fight. Like, you're not going to go to the fucking 7-Eleven park. No, listen, people who chop, in my opinion, like I'll exclude Gunther because it's part of like his.
What about Ric Flair?
Ric Flair, fuck Ric Flair and his stupid chop. Honestly, God, it's just like he's just like, Then you got the people in fucking Japan doing the fucking in the corner. I hate that fucking spot. When I saw Eddie Kingston do that in his fucking beer belly going, it was just
jiggle. Yeah, old.
I just fucking hate chops in general. I think they fucking suck. Nobody in a like. Here's the thing: you want to make wrestling feel real, you don't fucking chop. You don't see people in the fucking, you know, the octagon going and fucking Superman chop. No, they don't fucking chop. You want to know why? Because chops are fucking stupid. Stupid. But anyway, I do want to see that match. That's all I got to say about that. Where are we? Hope. Let's do Hope.
Your Hope.
So I thought about this really just it made me giggle in my head. I probably because the gummy I was taking when I was watching Raw, but I kept thinking to myself, we have Roman Reigns and his bloodline, technically, I guess, maybe on Raw. It seems like that seems where they're all headed and stuff. And then it seems like the Wyatt Six is gone to SmackDown. We have this random backstage segment with Sami Zayn, Karrion Kross, and Miz, and that leads to a fucking whatever match. And I was just like, you know, I wouldn't hate the idea of Final Testament. I can't believe it was Final Testament against the Bloodline.
Which bloodline? Clarify.
Roman Reigns' bloodline, the OG bloodline. Here's the thing. If you remember when Kross came back, what was the first thing he did? He attacked McIntyre, and then he put out the glass and looked at Roman Reigns, and I'm like, I've never seen it. It would be so fucking funny to me to see like the Usos and the big fucking oafs, the AOP, and then you got the Miz and Sammy, and then you got like, you know, Roman and Kross. I just think it'd be, and then, you know, Heyman and Scarlett, those, like, there's just something there.
Sounds like a weird porno.
Yeah, it is. It's definitely a weird porno, but there's something about it that just kind of like tickles me. And I'm just curious to see what happens. Tickles me pink, like meat. Anyway, so do you think it's probably a possibility? No, but it's a hope. That's why we put it in a hope.
Roman Reigns has so few matches that
I know he's not getting off his couch for that. I know.
He's gonna waste one on Roman Reigns and AOP?
No. No, I know. The dude's not getting off his couch unless they say, "Here's a big fat check. Go ooh all over his face." But
Sammy will wrestle Karrion Kross. Why not? But Jey Uso might wrestle Karrion Kross. Roman's gonna look at that motherfucker and be like, "I'll fuck your wife."
I don't think he's gonna do that. Anyway, no, look, it's a hope for a reason, folks. That's all I got to say about that. So there you are. All right.
Yeah. All right. Palate cleanse. We're going to go to real meat. Come back. Powerhouse. Powerhouse Hobbs out of nowhere in Nestlemania became the #1 contender for the AEW World Championship. And me, as a meat guy, a Powerhouse Hobbs guy, I was happy to see this. And you know what? It makes a little sense because, as Hobbs reminded us in an interview, Moxley's the one who brought Hobbs into AEW. So this was a long time coming. It's going to definitely just be a one-off on Wednesday because that's what AEW does. But I'm happy for Hobbs because he's one of the guys I've worried about over there because we know AEW doesn't always know what to do with the big guys. We've seen the starts and stops with Wardlow. Hell, we've seen the start and stops with even Hobbs. So, but it's just like that. He's back now. They're treating him like a big deal, like he deserves to be, because I think this guy has done nothing but get better and better since I saw him. Because I remember when he debuted, and was how with Moxley, and I was just like, who is this fucking tub of goo that looks so fucking uncoordinated? He's just fucking I'm like, no wonder Ambrose likes him. But we've watched him develop. We've watched him become an absolute fucking unit, a monster, and he's become one of my favorite guys on the roster. So I love his growth character-wise, physically, everything. So I'm glad he's going to get this chance. You know, Moxley's going to sell out to make him look good because that's his boy. So I think he's well-deserving of a comeback. I think it's literally why we have this segment. I thought it was perfect. So yeah, there you go. There's my positive AEW spin of the week, Nestlemania.
I got to say this, though. We have the Monday night rerun. We might as well have the AEW Dynamite duplicate because honestly, this has happened before on Dynamite for the world title. Powerhouse Hobbs and Moxley. Go back and check. And they've had like several matches together. And I'm just like, I'm sure it'll be good.
Moxley loves this dude. He feel like he discovered him in Japan.
I know, but the thing that makes me laugh is like, again, you have the fucking coke dope sitting there just fucking jerking himself off for 2 hours. And it's like, okay, so Powerhouse Hobbs isn't even fucking winning. Like, I just feel like sometimes I want to believe. Listen, wrestling is about.
I want to believe that everyone has a chance.
I do.
I want to believe it's only the coke dope. No, I agree with you, but look at Nestlemania. That's wrestling, bro.
You gotta make it real, damn it.
We always know. We see matches all the time where it's like this person's not going to win, but I'm happy they're getting the opportunity because you know what they are. They're like, it's not like the word tryout isn't the right word, but it's one of those things like you put people in these positions to see like, can they do it? Can Hobbs wrestle a main event against the world champion and capture it? Can he capture the attention of the crowd? When people get behind him, they showed that they can. Okay, we're gonna make a note of that, and when we feel like he's ready, we feel like we can pull the trigger. So that's I
don't think he'll ever be world champion in AEW. I don't.
It depends if he sticks around there, which I hope he doesn't, because we know WWE is much bigger with the big boys. And imagine Hobbs versus Braun, Hobbs versus Bronson Reed, Hobbs versus Oba Femi. Oh my God, that should have been my hope. That would be like a meat explosion of all meat explosions.
Did you see what we got texted, by the way? Go open up your. You can't see this at home, probably.
Meat chopping. That's pretty good.
It's him as
Doc works fast.
Yeah, Doc works fast.
Tweet it out.
It's you tweet it out. I'm busy hosting.
I'm fucking running a segment here, Nestlemania. Give him my comeback.
I'm just saying. So I don't even know who I was. Was I Cesaro in that picture? I mean, I'd never looked that good, but yeah, it was Cesaro. But I just love JC with his glasses on chopping me.
Oh, yeah. Picture from the original Knocker photos, the bios on the website. God,
yeah, that's true.
When was that? That was with the old fantasy football belt. Yeah.
8 years ago. Holy fuck. Anyway, where are we? Comeback. Don't call it a comeback. You gave your comeback to Powerhouse Hobbs. I'm giving my. You ready for this? You ready for this?
No.
I'm giving my comeback to Lyra Valkyria because she won the Intercontinental Championship. That's right. The curse is broken because of the Knockers. We gave it most cursed. I said there on the program that I thought I killed her career. And by saying I killed her career,
you revitalized it.
I revitalized her career.
Happens. This is what always happens.
It's just like I speak it into existence, folks. And it's amazing. I am the reason she's the Intercontinental Champion.
That's not the reason. No, you're the reason she wasn't the Intercontinental Champion sooner.
I'm just saying it's great.
I love you. The best part of this is you are victory lapping something that only happened because you jumped off the bandwagon because you fucked her up so bad. You put her in 6-woman tag purgatory for like 6 months. You had to give her your knocker for most Nestle cursed. But only that could lift it because fine, it was just like the same thing we saw. Like you were the biggest Raquel guy ever in NXT.
I know.
And then you jumped off her and she started fucking winning all the championships and got called up and it was like a big deal.
And then she fucking sucked and tanked again.
Well, I mean, because we all know. I mean, look at Lyra's a stud. It's gonna take a lot more than another Nestle curse to fuck her up because she is she has wings for a reason, baby, because she soars. But I was happy to see this because I was like, thank God. Thank God we got that curse offer so she could shine in 2025. Baby.
You know what the real thing is going to be? Is next year at the Knockers, who's in the curse there. And then if I fall off the bandwagon, apologize, and then they do something, then we know there's a trend here. So that's all I got to say. We got to look forward to that next year. But man, I was so excited to see her win the IC title. And I just thought to myself, great job for just coming off the bandwagon and just apologizing to that poor lady. And look what happens when I apologize. When I'm apologizing, I take credit and I own my side of the street, folks. I make things happen, good or bad. It's a gift and a curse. Really.
It is amazing that this thing just continues. Like, no one can dispel the Nestle curse because it literally is real. There is just too much proof at this point.
It even works in real life too, which is even more alarming. So, you know, it is what it is. Should we get to the big old finish there, Joshua?
We get to the big old finish. Nestlemania on SmackDown this week. We have a women's championship match. Bayley is the #1 contender, taking on Tiffy time. We also have the Motor City Machine Guns taking on Los Garza, which appears to be a #1 contenders match because this was a mini tournament, even though they didn't say it. And also Nestlemania, we get the return of the ex-tribal chief, Solo Sikoa.
Is any of that exciting? I mean, Los Garza and the Motor City Machine Guns will be cool.
Tiffy and Bayley always have good matches.
Yeah, but we know that's not going to. Tiffy's not going to lose that. We know that.
Well, yeah, it'll probably be a schmoz because Nia and Candice will probably get involved. You also have Naomi and Bianca lurking and the big mess, and the Jade Bomb will probably go off at the Rumble. But no, I think Solo returning is. I think it's exciting and important because I want to see what's next for him. Because obviously we said it's like he carried them here, but they gave the Ula follow figuratively and literally back to Roman Reigns because it's WrestleMania season. He goes off and does main events. But what does Solo do? How do they continue? They did a good job last week of at least attempting to make Jacob and Tama feel super important. We didn't love it because it was just overdone. But it's like, what type of treatment does Solo get? Can he capture some back a little bit? And can they push him in a new direction to make it interesting? Like maybe a WrestleMania match, Nestlemania, is the Wyatt Six versus that bloodline. That would be a pretty fun little 8-man tag.
I was just about to say, we talked about this before we hit record, is that the Wyatt Six is on SmackDown. We thought there was a perfect choice to be against the bloodline.
Solo betrayed his family. That's literally their gimmick, is go after people who betrayed their family. So maybe it's an immediate feud, or maybe this is how you do a WrestleMania type thing. And this can just be the fucking random ass schmozzy psycho banger they have at some point, which will be a lot of fun.
You're burying the lead here, though, with Wyatt Six versus the new bloodline. The matchup we all want to see, Eric Rowan versus Camacho.
Yeah. Hell yeah, baby. Everything Camacho. We need to get healthy, though. We need to get Tongaloa healthy because he's out.
Tongaloa versus Eric Rowan is totally a jobber knocker match. No one else on this fucking planet would want to see this except Joshua.
Can it be tables, ladders, chairs, and stairs?
Oh my God. That would crack me up so much if that was any main event anywhere. Don't give a shit. But God damn it. It would make me laugh so fucking hard. I don't know. It just makes me so fucking
So let's see if you like Raw better now.
Okay, then
you're kind of mid on SmackDown. Raw, we have Seth versus Drew, part 2. We have New Day returning to action as they continue to just be hated, and we get dun 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 dun. JBL making an appearance. They'll be in Tejas. So another good Penta crowd, by the way, as well. So that's exciting. But JBL will be in attendance. What do we think JBL is going to be up to? I'm
calling it right now, declaring for the Royal Rumble.
Might be wrong about that one. JBL's been making the rounds. Like
he's an indie man,
yeah. So maybe he doesn't have as much money as we all think.
I mean, he probably needs the help, but made some bad investments or something. But the thing is JBL's a heel's heel. So he's gonna be
over in Texas, so
I don't know. I just feel like you could totally put him in the Rumble, and everybody would pop for it. So I think it'd be funny as hell. He's been working.
He was in the Rumble recently, wasn't he?
I don't think so.
Yeah, I feel like he was in recently. He was dumped out immediately, like they always are.
Oh, when he was a commentator, maybe.
Yeah, maybe he got up and he got
That's usually a fun spot too. So the New Day thing is interesting. I'll be curious to see who their opponents are, because I think they have to kind of get booed out of the building.
They will.
So something's got to happen.
Have we seen anything since what they did to Big E? They have just been booed, period. So.
And then what was the other thing you said?
I already deleted it, but Seth versus
so that's what it is. So that'll be the main event, obviously. I think there'll be some schmaz in there.
A little bit of punky wonky.
I don't know why. I feel like Punk will let it go by itself. Unless they're gonna throw, like, why would Punk need to get involved? He wants to get away from those guys.
That is true, but who knows?
What are we, 2 weeks away from the Rumble? Something like that? 3 weeks?
It's the first weekend of February, right? It's the first.
So we got 2 Raws and 2 SmackDowns.
So we got 2 more Raws, 3 more SmackDowns.
Okay. Yeah, so I would venture a guess that we're kind of sitting in no man's land for now. So it's gonna be tough creatively.
Well, next Monday is good because there'll be a go home for Saturday night main event.
Right.
So it should like make the Rumble stuff and not have to carry the show till next week. So.
Right. All right, then that's fine. Anything from AEW that you want to get excited to talk about?
I mean, that's your job to pull up that card.
Well, I didn't know we were actually talking about AEW.
But apparently, I didn't watch it. But people sent the clips, and one of my favorites, and the dude that I fucking think shouldn't be in wrestling anymore, had maybe the worst wrestling match in the history of wrestling matches I heard. So.
Yeah, he had a pretty big stinker, and apparently, he says he doesn't like the word botch, and then has that whole thing. So.
Yeah, well, maybe you should retire, Chris.
Well, look at this. We got Maximum Carnage tomorrow night as Christian Cage.
Called?
Yeah, takes on your buddy Hook, Christian Cage and Hook. That's a whole
they've been
thing.
building to that. Okay.
We got on Saturday Collision Maximum Carnage, because they don't have enough Maximum Carnage. They got to maximize it to 2 nights. Hangman versus Christopher Daniels. At least there's something going on there.
I do no. Why do we always do this? It's like all you fucking virgins talk about how you want to watch fucking Adam Pearce versus Nick Aldis. Tony Khan listens and be like, I'm gonna book Christopher Daniels. No, I don't fucking care. He's fucking done. He's done. I don't want one of your top stars wrestling the dude that's supposed to be the fucking old authority figure. Get out of my face. That's the reason why it's on Collision, though, because they know it stinks.
The Hurt Syndicate will be doing their trios debut. That's a thing. Okay, great. And then
so MVP is wrestling?
Yes, with his cane and all. We also have the Best Bout Machine versus The Machine, Brian Cage versus Kenny Omega. First time since 2003 that he'll be on our television screens wrestling. Great, wonderful, love it. Okay, whatever. And of course, we've got the Women's Casino Gauntlet match where the winner gets a title shot at the Grand Slam Australia. One would think Tony Storm wins this thing, I would think, wouldn't you?
I'll see. Yeah, I'd say so.
Also,
they're doing a show in Australia? I didn't know that.
Yeah, they are doing a show in Australia. May I just say something very quickly? Mariah May is great. However,
they have no opponents for her.
They have nothing for her ever, except I will say Harley Cameron does not need to be in AEW. She needs to be in WWE right now. That woman, if she was in WWE, would be such an amazing megastar. But when you put her in AEW, I'm just like, they don't know what to do with her. She's a quadruple threat. She's so fucking funny. And then at the same time, you're like, she can kind of wrestle, and she's just got the look. She's got
she
everything.
Can wrestle like Maxine can wrestle.
But I'm just saying, like,
calm down a little bit. I love Maxine, but come on.
I'm just saying, you look at her, there's a star quality. That's all I'm saying.
Well, now that you know that she's single, it's just people like her even more.
Well, that helps.
Her WWE hubby who was fired, they're not hubbies anymore. So
I don't know. I'm just saying that it's
No, yeah, her style is way more. We see it every now and then in AEW, but it just shows that in AEW, like, this is important too. They just literally, it's like we talk about with MJF all the time. It's like they fumble him so much because they don't know how to fucking book an actual like full-rounded star half the time.
I will say this much. What did you think of MJF having a feud with Jeff Jarrett? Didn't have that on my dance card.
This Jeff Jarrett push, and like, Dom, close your ears. Because, of course, Dom loves this. This is like the most Dom thing ever. And this is why AEW can't get out of their own way. Because they think something like this, because Dom and a couple others love it, that it's just like, people want to see this Jeff Jarrett chase a world title. It's like, we just saw it with Daniel Bryan and you flopped it. You think you can fucking do it with Jeff fucking Jarrett? Oh, my God. But yeah, look at MJF fucking sold it, because that's what MJF does. He makes everything better. But it's just like, good God. And yeah, they're running the shows they're running in the locations they've been running. Jeff Jarrett's going to get a nice reaction. But yeah, fucking put that anywhere else. It's just like, we just have him win in a fucking, in a fucking gym or something. Like, come on. What are we doing?
Imagine if Jeff Jarrett wins the AEW title. Like, I don't think it's going to happen in any way ever. But
that might be it. That might be it for me with that company.
If Jeff Jarrett becomes the world champion? What if Jeff Jarrett becomes the world champion and Christian Cage cashes in on him immediately?
I mean, I'd be cool with that, but no, Jeff Jarrett should never have his hands on that title. Like they have so many people in that company who should have their hands on that title, and he's not one of them.
Okay.
And he'd probably tell you that too, honestly. This feels like a Tony Khan thing. This is what Tony Khan does. But it's like, come on. This is why they can't get out of their own way.
Okay. I'm just saying. I'm just throwing it out there. That's all. Anything else, or let's get the fuck out of here?
You fucking brought up Jeff Jarrett. You ruined my night.
That's what I do. Adam ruins everything. Anyway, on that note, thank you for listening and watching the Jobber Knocker podcast. We'll be back next week with some more Jobber Knockery.